Donald Trump, 47th President of the United States of America, has just put blanket tariffs on the entire world, excluding Russia, and we're going to talk about its impact on the watch industry. President Donald J. Trump has just put blanket tariffs on the entire world, except North Korea and Russia. He's even put tariffs on islands with penguins on and no human population. Those poor penguins' economy is just going to get flushed down the drain. But we're not here to talk about politics. I want to stick to the cold, stark reality of what these tariffs mean for the watch industry at large. I've just come back from Watches and Wonders 2025. I was in Geneva. I went to Watches and Wonders, Time to Watches, and the Beau Rivage so I went to a whole slew of different watch shows, saw hundreds of watches, mental things, and there was one thing people were talking about and was sort of casting a shadow over all the proceedings, and that was the tariffs. What do they mean for the watch industry? What do they mean for the luxury watch industry, especially the Swiss watch industry? A lot of countries make watches, and a lot of countries export watches to the United States. If you actually have a look at the figures, in 2024, Swiss watch exports to the United States rose by 5% to $5.2 billion, whilst the rest of the world has declined or stayed very, very steady in terms of demand for Swiss watches. The United States has been essentially the only bastion of increased demand. It's actually been driving the vast majority, if not all of the growth within the Swiss watch market. For example, China's actually seen a decline in demand ever since the COVID-19 pandemic. So America has been this shining beacon where people want to sell their watches. I know for a fact, from my experience working at Fears, America made up a massive amount of their market. Talking about the British watch industry, it's going to be affected because we are in the 10% tariff club. You know what? Other countries in the 10% tariff club? Afghanistan. So the Taliban have the same level of tariffs as us. We're on par with the Taliban, Terry. Oh, Taliban Terry.
I don't know if that's a good nickname.
Yeah, it's a great nickname.
I've read with it though. I rock it.
I know that there are numerous British watch brands who are talking about absorbing the 10% tariff that America is placing on British imports. One of them is Fears. Nicholas Bowman-Scargill has put out a video on his Instagram saying Fears will be absorbing the cost of the tariffs along with their retail partners in the US. Then you look at Germany and France and Italy, for example. All three of them do make luxury watches. Germany's probably the largest one, definitely the largest one in that group. And they've got a 20% tariff. 20% is a very large amount. For example, you look at a Nomos, say it's worth $3,000. That is an extra 600, we'll use dollars in this example, that's an extra $600 on the price of a watch. Unless you're doing direct to consumer, that is not possible really to absorb if you use a traditional retail outlet and stuff. You just simply can't absorb that. So the cost of German watches, for example, they're going to go through the roof in America. Now, onto the Swiss watch industry. That's what everyone's really concerned about. Terry, do you know how much the tariff on Switzerland is?
I'm going to take a guess and say 25%. 31%.
31%. So for example, Christopher Ward have put out a press release, and because their products are made in Switzerland, Christopher Ward is having to put up their prices by 31% across the board in the US. That is a cost that is being passed directly to the consumer. And that is going to be the case with the vast majority of Swiss watch brands. I can't imagine any mid-tier or any traditional Swiss watch brand absorbing all of that or most of that. Maybe a small amount, and they might put up their prices sort of globally to help level it out. Now, why have these tariffs been put in place? If you aren't aware, The main purpose of tariffs is to protect the industry of that country. For example, the automotive industry. America does have a very strong automotive industry, so they would be inclined to put large tariffs on Chinese cars to drive up the price to make American cars competitive, thus helping the industry. So why have the Trump administration seen fit to put a blanket tariff on the vast majority of the globe, not only for goods and services, but also for raw materials, particularly when America doesn't have a strong domestic watch industry? They've got Timex and they've got some other stuff. American watch brands, Oak and Oscar, Shinola, RGM, Timex, Brew's a good one. The Detroit Watch Company. Timex is by far the biggest one there, and none of them are luxury watch companies. None of them are even mid-tier. They're all small, indie, and some of them are micro brands. There is no way on God's green earth that any of these brands, whether they're from Britain, Germany, Japan, Switzerland, China, none of these brands are going to be establishing any sort of manufacture in the US. There's not the infrastructure for it. There's no trained watchmakers out there. And I can't imagine 10,000 watchmakers relocating to America just to make watches slightly cheaper over there. This doesn't only impact the watch industry, this impacts the whole world. All of us, everyone. If you want to talk about watches in a wider context, just think of the Apple Watch. By revenue is the largest watch manufacturer in the world, primarily manufactured in China. Now there is now a 54% tariff on China, and Trump is currently threatening another 50%. My point is, if you're in America hoping to buy a luxury watch, it's not looking good. Any watch that's not a Timex or something. And let's be honest, even Timexes and all of those American brands that we mentioned before, they're going to get far more expensive as well. Because parts for watches, if they're using a Japanese Miyota movement, tariff rate on Japan is 24%. Not to mention all the Japanese brands that are going to be impacted. I keep going off on one, but none of this is good news. It might be good news for watch consumers in the EU or other strong luxury watch markets where there is going to be an oversupply because it's likely countries will want to sell things to richer markets, for example the EU, for example the Middle East, for example Japan, because they're now a lot more expensive in the US, which will massively affect demand, but it's still not good news. Not in the short term, not in the medium term, and I'm doubting in the long term as well. But guys, what do you think? I'm a bit worried, and I would be a lot more worried if I was in America, but I'm interested in what you think. Go down into the comments, let me know. Whilst you're down there, why not like, subscribe, ding that bell icon so you never miss another video, and stick around for tomorrow. We've got my Watches and Wonders vlog coming out. That'll be very, very good. And also, don't forget to support the channel directly. Click on the join button, just like everyone on the screen did now, because I love them. They're amazing. And you're also amazing if you reach this point in the video, so thank you very much, and watch yourselves.